Hello YouTube, VG Time back with another deck profile. This time we're going to start exploring the World Martial Art Tournament set leaders and seeing the potential that they currently have. This set is actually fairly cheap to invest into if you want to be like a local player that has a fairly powerful deck. The promos they made for it and the power boosters are very cheap. The cards themselves, all the SRs, even the SCR for this set is very cheap. And even though this set kind of fell out of favor, I don't think the decks are necessarily bad. So, to speak about the set, just briefly, it was based around a really cool mechanic where you had pairs of cards that worked with each other. Each color had pairs of cards. Blue had their pairs, green had their pairs. And they were basically people that were matched up in tournament against each other. So the best color for pairings was hands down blue. And so we're going to go over the UUB leader and the cards that were set out for him. So on the front side, this leader does the same thing as most of the World Martial Arts Tournament leaders. There was only two of them that were off the grain, and that was the red leader and the black leader, which you'll see coming up in upcoming deck profiles. But UUB, when he swings at a leader, you draw a card, and then when you awaken, you untap 2 life. And of course, your awakening was at 4 or less life. On the back side, though, like all the leaders from World Martial Art Tournament, he had a really cool effect. So he's UUB Unknowing Power, and he has the effect that when he attacks, he draws a card, and then he has an activate main that is not once per turn that allows you to take a life to your hand in order to gain a 5k boost and to return one of your opponent's battle cards to their hand. And it didn't care about the size of the battle card or anything like that. And usually he would swing it in for 20 to 25k on a turn that you were trying to close out the game. So we are playing blue. We're just going to get the boring cards out of the way. UUB does not self-awaken on the front side, so we have to run 3 copies of Awakening Talent Pan. This was the blue Self-Awakener. It is currently the only blue Self-Awakener until set 10 releases. That is a 1-drop that gains 10k. So in her case, she's a 1-drop. She gains 10k by taking a life, and then at the end of the turn, she returns to your hand, allowing you to have hand advantage, and it also has synergies with another card in this deck. Next up, we have Dende, Astute Savior. This guy right here helps with consistency. When you play him, he has an auto that you can warp a World Tournament guy from your deck with a cost 5 or less, and then at the beginning of your next turn, you get to get that card back to your hand that you warped with this skill. Then he has an activate main where you can pay 2, send it to the drop area, warp a 3 cost or less World Tournament card from your hand, and then at the beginning of the following turn, that card gets to come into play for free. So he helps with consistency, he helps to set up the various pairings, he helps with searching basically. Then our super combo of choice is going to be top of his game Son Gohan. The cool part about this series was that the super combos were fully interchangeable. The super combo only cares that your leader is World Tournament, and then they work when you're at 5 or less life, getting 10k combo power and drawing a card. So if you wanted to, you could run the yellow super combo, the green one, the red one. It literally didn't matter. Then of course, because we're blue, we play Bean. And we play Dimension Magic. Bean in this deck serves both offensive and defensive purposes. And then Dimension Magic is of course the best blue negate currently. And then last for counterplay and utility, we play 2 copies of Desperate Measures. This card right here, if the battle card being played is 2 or less, you get to return it to its owner's hand, and then you get to choose one of your blue battle cards with cost 3 or less and return it to your hand. And it's up to 1, so you can choose not to return anything, but in this series, because of how the pairings work, sometimes you just wanted to return a card to get the pairings effect again. Alright, so blue each color had a powerful end-game combo of cards that they would play that was meant to finish off the game. Blue had the most lackluster one, even though it had one of the strongest effects. But then they made a power booster card to help support it. And that card is this card right here. It's Videl, Proudest Mother. She has a permanent that if you have no cards in play, no battle cards in play, and you have a World Tournament leader, she reduces her cost by 2. So you can play this card on the second turn. And then she has an auto on play where you could choose a Hercule Proudest Father or Grandpa from your hand and put it into play. And then at the end of the turn, you put her on top of the deck and you search for a Pan Proudest Daughter and you put it into play. And that combination of Hercule and Pan was the main driving force as far as in-game for this particular deck. So seeing as such, let's get into what each of the cards do. We have Hercule Proudest Grandpa. He has Barrier, and he has an auto that if a Pan Proudest Daughter comes into play, you get to draw up to 2 cards, and then at the end of your turn, you got to choose one of your energy and untap it. And then Pan Proudest Daughter had the effect of if you had Hercule in play, she gained plus 10k and had a double strike, and she was a dual attacker. So that made her very strong. So you would have a Hercule out, usually you had to cast it on 3 back in the day. Then the following turn you would play out Pan, you would draw 2 cards, you would get an untap, and you would get 2 attacks for 25k double strike. And that was good enough back in the day. Nowadays that's not quite good enough, so they had added more cards to the deck. So continuing with the pairings, we play 3 copies of Awkward Situation Trunks and 3 copies of Awkward Situation Otoski. Trunks and Otoski is one of the coolest pairings because it allows for early aggression while also providing removal. So you would play the Trunks for 2. He's a 2-drop 15k typical. But then Otoski, as long as you had the Trunks out there and you didn't have a copy of him on the table, you could play him for free. And then Trunks had the ability to put Otoski back into the deck to be able to pop one of your opponent's battle cards. And he didn't care what size it was, he just popped it. But that effect was once per turn. But what that did allow you to do is that if you have multiple Otoskis in your hand, you can swing with Trunks, swing with Otoski, use Trunks effect, pop a guy, play another Otoski, swing with Otoski. And that was all done with 2 energy. So you got 3 15k attacks, which I thought was pretty good back in the day. The next pairing is Test of Strength Son Goku and Test of Strength UUB. This was your really big power pairing for Blue. Before this next pairing came up, and I argue it still is your best power pairing. Goku had the effect that when you played him, you got to play UUB from your hand for free. So you got 2 3-drops, and then when you play that UUB for free, both Goku and UUB got plus 5k. So Goku would become a 20k double striker and UUB a 20k critical attacker. Then UUB, of course, benefited from Goku being on the table, because when he came into play and you had a Goku on the table, you got to choose up to 2 of your opponent's battle cards with 20,000 power or less, and you got to shuffle them into your opponent's deck. So again, powerful removal, 2 guys for the price of 1, and they both have relevant stats. But again, as I mentioned, the Hercule Pan was a strong combination, but it's not quite strong enough by today's standards. So they printed this pairing, which is Son Goku Jr. Heroic Successor and Vegeta Jr. Heroic Successor. This pairing is weird because they do play each other, but they do it in a more roundabout way. So Vegeta Jr. has an effect while it's in your hand where you can take it and put it at the bottom of your deck and draw a card. You can use that effect at, it's activate main, so you can use it on any turn. You can do it early on in the game, especially if you know that you're not going to be shuffling your deck anytime soon. And then when you play Goku Jr. checks the bottom of your deck, and if it's Vegeta Jr., you get to play the Vegeta Jr. directly onto the field. And then the way that the rest of their effects work out allows for multi-attack, where you can attack with Goku, then attack with Vegeta, use the effect of Goku, that's a once per turn effect, to untap Vegeta. The Vegeta's auto once per turn will trigger to untap Goku, and then of course you get to attack with Goku and Vegeta again. Goku Jr. was double strike, and Vegeta Jr. is critical. And then, speaking of the SCR I mentioned before, we have one copy of Son Goku and UUB. This was the SCR that was in World Martial Arts Tournament. It is by far the cheapest SCR, mainly because it was printed like water. You could literally go and get 4 or 5 boxes and get 2 of these things in those boxes, sometimes even more than that, which was great for me because it allowed me to have an SCR to use in multiple decks, but was bad for its value on the secondary market, which I really don't care about. So it has dual attack, double strike, of course it's ultimate, and has a permanent that if your opponent has 6 or more energy and your leader is a world tournament, you get to play him for 6. And then he has an auto on attack where he gets to choose one of your opponent's energy and one of their life and put it at the bottom of their deck in any order. So he automatically took life, he set them back on energy, and he is also a 40k double striker that they had to be able to out combo. So overall, you can see that this deck archetype is still very powerful, especially when you're thinking about decks on a local level. I'll be going through further leaders as the weeks go by. Thank you for watching today's video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out other videos on this channel, and follow me on Instagram at the name below in the description. This is VG Time, signing out.